In 2014, Facebook scientists published the results of one of the biggest psychological experiments ever conducted. They took almost 700,000 Facebook profiles and deliberately skewed their news feeds to be either more positive or more negative. Then they used the company's sophisticated algorithms to measure any shift in people's mood. Their findings? The more positive the feed, the happier Facebook users seemed to be. The more negative, the more depressed they became. It proved the power of Facebook to affect what we think and how we feel. Facebook is a free service, but that's because Zuckerberg has learned how to turn our data into dollars. Lots of dollars. Last year, his company earned $27.5 billion US, just under $16 for each user, and he's buying even more internet real estate. Facebook has WhatsApp, Facebook has Instagram, Facebook has Oculus Rift, not necessarily mainstream, but these are very big corners of the internet. Should we be concerned? We be concerned about the monopoly?
We should always be concerned about monopoly. We should always be concerned about concentration of power.
It can do things like a government, and indeed it has sort of inherited some government-like functions. But I don't think that passes the smell test to imagine that Facebook or any online platform is truly democratic. They're not.
By tracking what we do, who we associate with, what websites we look at, Facebook is able to make sophisticated judgments about the stories we see, but also advertising that's likely to move us to spend. Depending on what we post at any given moment, Facebook can figure out what we're doing and thinking and exploit that. Facebook is not just influencing what we buy, it's changing the world we live in.
Not only have you built this big business and this big social network, you now are determining the course of, you are possibly determining the course of world events.
Community standards are developed by his staff. The community didn't develop those standards. And they're called community standards. But they were developed by Facebook. And
for instance, you can't make a political statement on television without it being disclosed who's being paid for. Those same controls on the web are very lax. For instance, I could see a story about certain XYZ politician has done a great thing, produced on a completely different third-party news site, and I cannot know that that ad was placed by a political operation who have specifically targeted me, because that information is not disclosed anywhere.
As more and more consumers get their news from digital sources, and Facebook in particular, the old-fashioned world of newspapers and TV stations is collapsing. If Facebook is playing an increasingly important role in how we understand the world, its social mood study showed it affects how we feel about it. When its researchers explained how they manipulated the news feeds of some 700,000 users, they were criticized for playing with people's psychology without telling them. And yet its algorithms do that every day. They give us stories they know we want to see to keep us online and help advertisers send us more ads. It seems there is almost no limit to Facebook's intrusion into our lives, for better or for worse.
I want to thank all of you for joining us to hear more about some of the things we're working on at Facebook.
Facebook is far more intimately involved in our lives than any company we've ever seen before. Our lives are now measured in data. What we look at, who we talk to, what we do, is all recorded in digital form. In handing it to Facebook, we're making Mark Zuckerberg's company one of the most powerful in history. And the question is, at what cost to ourselves?